Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be going over the WPL C-24 KM kit. This is the edition that comes with all the metal components for the driveline and the axles. With this particular kit, you will need to assemble it yourself and provide a radio and transmitter for it. I'm not going to go through the complete unboxing. Several videos of that out there, and also the complete assembly. Just going to go over some highlights and things that I've noticed about the vehicle. First one is you do get the box in perfect condition, especially when you order from the company itself. The thing that I wasn't expecting was that you get both the 180 motor and the 372 speed motor. So at this point, I will initially build up the model with all the plastic components, and I plan to replace them as they break with the metal ones that come provided. I did order a spare 180 motor in case I burned out the one that came supplied. Like all the other KM kits, this does also come provided with the metal wheel weights. One of the differences that I did notice, along with others, this kit doesn't come supplied with metal suspension links, unlike the C-44 kit. Now, I've assembled everything a little bit out of order just because I like to check fitment before I do the final assembly. I did order an extra set of axle bridges. In the past, these did have a reputation for breaking. I'll keep you updated on how long they last and if it was even necessary for me to get an extra set. The plastic axles did come together well. Everything fit just right. Excuse the framing of the shot, I forgot to rotate my camera for this one. When you're rotating the axle, you will notice a little bit of drag that you don't have on the metal axles, since they are bushings, but that's not a big deal. And we will be using these axles until they break. Another component that's not provided in its metal equivalent is the steering servo. Now I know WPL does supply a metal servo in this size, but it doesn't come with this kit like it does with the C-34, C-44 kits. I did go ahead and order a metal one ahead of time. I will be using an SCX-24 transmitter receiver combo. Now we're going to go ahead and assemble everything and bench test it, make sure that this system will hold up and function correctly. I'm curious to see if it'll handle the weight of the complete vehicle and the 180 motor without overheating, and we'll see how that goes. Like I mentioned before, this isn't so much an unboxing and assembly video as it is just of my experience with these particular RC models. And just like all the other components, the body came together just as easy. The one part that gave me a lot of trouble was the handle on the back glass of the canopy. Took me 10 minutes, but I got it in, and I doubt it'll ever come out again. Now after the final assembly, WPL is nice enough to supply a couple of extra components, a spring here, a clip there. Every now and then they do forget a component. And this time it was the rear lens for the stoplights. I may or may not order a replacement for these in the future. Alright, let's take the C-24 out, see how she does. One of the first things I noticed once I powered this vehicle up and drove it around for a little bit was the performance of the SCX-24 transmitter receiver. Now paired up with this 180 motor and the transmission, it's a beautiful combination. As long as you take your time and approach things correctly, it should be fine. You're not going to be doing any major rock crawling, just moderate to light overlanding. Here's a good example of taking your time, finding your lines, and getting up the obstacle. As I mentioned before, the SEX ESC gives you outstanding low speed control, both uphill and downhill. So I decided to try the C-34 on a patch of rocks that normally would be reserved for a larger RC vehicle. I didn't necessarily struggle over the rocks, didn't fly over them either. Now with this particular setup, you're not going to win any rock crawling competitions, but you definitely will have fun. Now let's go over some things that aren't necessarily drawbacks, but merely things that can be improved upon. One of the first things you'll notice is the weight of the truck, or lack thereof. The problem it poses, or at least the trouble I was having, I just couldn't get any purchase because of the lack of traction. Plus the plastic steering components and suspension components. It's just not enough weight and too much flex where you didn't want it just to keep the tires on the ground was a little difficult. Although these are the softer kit tires, the aforementioned lack of weight doesn't allow them to flex in any way or wrap around any objects, so they just bounce around. Even when descending, the lack of weight did pose problems. They just wanted to tumble end over end. And just to touch on the tires, they are some of the smaller ones offered by WPL, so you do lose some ground clearance there, causing you to get hung up on smaller rock. And of course, the first thing you really want to do is add weight to the front of the vehicle to keep you from flipping backwards, which seems to be easy to do. Now, I might get some comments saying, take the cab off, that'll help. I'm sure it will, but I'm just gonna run it the way it came. Yeah, even with the lack of traction and the lack of weight, you can still get up obstacles if you take your time. But 9 times out of 10, it was always the lack of weight. And that's gonna be the theme for this video. Lack of weight.
Break something.
No, I didn't break anything this time. One of the biggest things that I enjoyed about the vehicle was the low speed control and modulation provided by the SEX-24 transmitter receiver in combination with the 180 motor and transmission. But the overall theme, as mentioned before, is going to be the lack of weight. Now the problem with that is that you do add extra stress to your driveline components. A little bit of weight on your axles, just so you could bite on a rock. But if you don't have that, you're just gonna spin and spin and spin your tires. You'll see the vehicle start to bounce. And what that does, what you'll notice is that your wheels will spin and you'll accelerate to full speed when you're bouncing. Then you'll hit the ground again and bind up your tires, binding up all your driveline components. Now that adds stress to your drive shaft, to your motor, your gears, every component that's moving. Now you might not snap anything right away, and the light weight of the vehicle helps prevent that. Still, putting your components through unneeded stress. So like I mentioned before, for the next video, what we're going to do is add weight in the form of the wheel weights that came with the kit, and that'll be the only modification that we'll be doing to it. There will be a link below for the video with the full-sized Hilux. I encourage you to watch it. It's a great video. There will also be a link for a Spanish narrated version. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, see you in the next video.